we don't trust you.
That many in management circles seem to ignore.
They don't trust the very people whom they hired. So what is a system? At a fundamental level, what is it? Welcome back to our show. In our last episode, we talked about the reasons why systems might fail a business. And in that episode specifically, we mentioned that the system itself is failing the business. Today, again, in the studio, I have with me our in-house expert in the fields of leadership, trust, productivity, performance management, to name a few. He's also my valued collaborator. Lorenzo, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Liam. It's great to be with you here today. And I'm excited about this episode. I think there's many in our online audiences really going to appreciate this topic today.
Yeah, absolutely. So in our last episode, we talked about the fact that most businesses create systems with the paradigm that people cannot be trusted. And with that mindset, some managers and executives design their systems with incredibly good intentions of protecting the organization.
That's right.
But in doing so, they create systems that strip their employees of decision-making autonomy. I mean, just consider that these very people are the stakeholders in the success of the organization, and then the rules and processes are developed in a way that inadvertently says to them, we don't trust you.
You know, Liam, you're pointing out such an interesting dichotomy in the minds and hearts of many managers today. I've often had managers say, our people are our most important asset.
Yeah.
And then in the same breath, they treat their people as if they're just a commodity.
Yeah.
I think about the cost and the arduous processes we go through to hire competent and capable people, and then we design all the systems as if we don't trust them, the very people we've hired to accomplish our most important goals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely baffling how most organizations have a recruitment process of filtering out those whom they don't trust to hire so that they can hire the one or two people who they trust most to do a given task. And then a few months down the line, what happens? They get rid of those people, or they tell them basically that they don't trust the very people whom they hired.
That makes me so excited about our episode today, because today we're going to learn about concepts that many in management circles seem to ignore, especially that's required in leading strategic execution.
Yeah.
But let me not steal your thunder, Liam.
Thank you, Lorenzo. So today, for our audience out there, we're going to discuss the second reason why systems and goals might fail a business, and we're going to take our first deep dive on this channel into what exactly a system is. You see, most managers, in fact, most creators of systems, don't clearly understand what a system is. So there are many myths out there about what a system might be. And from your experience and understanding, can you perhaps tell us about some common misinterpretations of what a system might be?
There are many. Yeah, I can think of one right now. Some people think that a system is a single entity or object rather than seeing it as a group of interconnected parts.
Yeah.
Some people believe that a system is just a set of procedures that must be carried out in a specific order.
Yeah. Another one that I can think of is that people generally believe that systems are designed to dictate the actions of others because, generally speaking, people are not trustworthy, and thus they refer to their company rules, their policies and procedures as systems, so to speak, or even their ICT computer systems as systems, or for example their ERP or CRM systems, and they believe that these are the things that will bring about control.
But now, Liam, I've just heard you use the word system repeatedly in the context where we're saying managers misunderstand the use of the word system or the idea. Are those ICT and procedural systems not systems in themselves? Why would we imply that managers commonly misunderstand this idea of systems?
Yeah, so I mean, exactly. That often means that people are not using that word system incorrectly, so to speak. But the reason the system might be failing the business is because the idea or the concept of what a system is fundamentally is not understood. And that's why we need to get into explaining what we mean when we say this. So, Lorenzo, perhaps you can tell us, what is a system? At a fundamental level, what is it?
So, just to clarify, at its core, a system is not something that dictates the outcomes that we as managers want.
Yeah.
No, rather, a system explains the core principles or insights, the wisdom we've come to know and discover over long periods of time about what things are and how they work.
Yeah.
A system describes all the interrelated parts that affect and influence each other, that causes the outcomes. I know it's a mouthful, that we see and experience. In a perfect world, a system describes the way things are by design. And then the job of the manager is to understand that system and align all their processes to work in harmony with that system and principles or basic truths.
Yeah, I'm going to steal the words from your mouth, and I will say that was a bit of a mouthful, and I'm sure our listeners out there are still struggling to wrap their heads around this idea. So let's break this down a little bit more. So from what I've heard, from what you've said, it sounds like potentially there may be more than one definition of what a system is.
Absolutely right. In fact, why don't we do an online search for what a system is and see what comes up?
Yeah.
Shall we do that?
Let's do that. Right. What is a system? Okay, so we've got a Wikipedia definition there, a very trustworthy and reputable place, but it is one that is accurate. It says that a system is a group of interacting or interrelated elements that act according to a set of rules to form a unified whole. A system surrounded and influenced by its environment is described by its boundaries, structure, and purpose, and is expressed in its functioning. Look, that does sound a bit complex still for myself, and I'm sure some of our users to wrap their heads around.
I agree with you. It does sound, even I'm struggling to make sense
Yeah.
of it. Try to explain systems here. But let's make this simpler. Have a look at the Oxford Dictionary. It has two basic definitions, and I think those definitions really separates two simple ideas. Now notice the first one says, a system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network, all part of a complex whole. Let's call that the fundamental definition of a system. And then the second definition says, a system is also, so it's really implying in addition to, a system is also a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized scheme or method. That sounds more like what a manager should do when he understands what a system is.
Yeah. So, in some sense, a system is a set of rules, tasks, policies, procedures, even software. But with that said, it does also seem like it's much more than just tasks, rules, policies, software.
Fantastic. Consider this illustration, and maybe we'll show our audience the image on the screen. To support life and diversity, our home planet Earth has a remarkable ecosystem. And in fact, that ecosystem has a biosphere that has many subsystems. In fact, as you look at that illustration there, the biosphere is the system in its entirety. It has subsystems like the atmosphere in the air, the hydrosphere in the oceans, and the lithosphere in the earth. All of those subsystems also have subsystems, which really shows the complexity of all the interconnecting parts. In fact, this biosphere has the worldwide sum of all ecosystems on planet Earth working harmoniously together to support and sustain life. Notice that's the outcome of the design of the systems. Now somehow or somewhere, there appears to be a set of rules or principles that govern the activity of the many complex and interacting elements and processes that causes this desirable outcome we call life. Think about this. This is really the fundamental definition of the system, that it's many complex interconnecting parts making a whole. Now, we've just described what it is and how it works to cause the outcomes we see. But here's an interesting idea. Change one element or interfere with one process, and there are consequences. In fact, dire consequences. They trigger one thing, and the outcome will invariably change something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to use your example there, if you remove a natural predator from an environment, you could end up potentially with a rodent plague or some other consequences that were unforeseen, or like that is common today, many believe that an increase in the use of fossil fuels causes too much CO2 in the atmosphere, and in turn that causes global warming.
Yeah, the Earth's ecosystem is really a perfect example of defining at the fundamental level what a system is, where interdependent living and non-living components all work together to achieve a common goal. And in fact, the leader's goal then is to understand the physics, the basic truths that govern the workings of the system, and then to design a set of procedures to help all the citizens to work in harmony with other elements inside the system and in the subsystems, so that everyone, all the participants and all the inhabitants have beneficial outcomes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that term, the physics of the system. So how can we understand systems better now in a business context? Does this scientific explanation of systems and the example of the Earth's ecosystem as you use there then carry over into a business context as well?
Well, definitely. In a professional world of business, there are also animate, living, and inanimate, dead objects all working together to produce a desirable or successful outcome. And dare I say, sometimes failing outcomes.
Yeah.
The life of a business is a system of many interrelated, interconnecting, and interdependent parts that all work harmoniously together to produce the outcomes that managers or leaders want. At the highest level of the system, or the highest level of the hierarchy, there are two basic resources.
Okay.
We have people.
Yeah.
That's nice, eh? We want people.
Yeah.
And then there are machines or things.
Yeah.
Most often leaders call these resources assets. Human capital is referred to the human part of the resources. And even though we call them assets, sometimes we don't treat them as if they are.
Yeah.
Also, there are subsystems like financial subsystems. There are human resources, engineering, design, sales and marketing, production and procurement subsystems.
Yeah.
And at an executive level, we even have what we can call subsystems, our systems of goals and strategic outcomes that we want to achieve. Do these subsystems all work harmoniously together by design? Or do the inhabitants of the system feel as if they need to compete, protect, or defend themselves?
Yeah.
You get it? Is there an openness and transparency between all of these systems, or are there silos and brick walls being built up so that everyone can protect themselves because they do not feel part of the whole?
Yeah, I mean, that brings so much clarity as to why the previous video was the system itself is failing a business. So would you agree that there are basic truths or principles about human nature that is being ignored in the workplace or misunderstood in the design of our people systems in many companies?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there, Liam. If there are rules by design for nature, just like planet Earth has fundamental rules that governs the system, it would be logical and rational to believe that there are also rules by design that govern human nature.
Yeah.
Interactions, relationships that we all have inside the workplace that influences the kind of outcomes that we have in our people subsystems.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Now, it may just be semantics in many people's eyes, but you clarified subsystems rather, come from an overarching system. And that implies that everything we design and do in a company is interconnected.
I like that you picked that up, because that's the key. Everything is interrelated and interconnected. And I believe we're going to be clarifying this concept in great deal on the life of this Learning Kurwa channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully our audience, you took some valuable insights from this episode. In fact, this forms the basis of our next two episodes too. We promised in our opening episode to explain 2 reasons why systems are failing a business. So reason 3, which will be covered in episode 3, is most managers don't actually know how to set goals properly. And in episode 4, we'll clarify the confusion between vision and goals. So until next time, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to that as well. Please like the video if you found this content useful and valuable to you. And since we are a new channel, we do promise to bring our added content weekly. We hope you click the like button, and this tells YouTube to put you in front of us, or us in front of you rather, more often. That'll really help us a lot. Thank you for watching.
Cheers.